back to Dirt Road Bigfoot. I am Icebox, and thank y'all for coming. Tonight we have an interview of a gentleman who did not want his identity revealed and did not want to be on camera, so we call him Hillbilly Slim. It's a very interesting interview. This man hails from West Virginia and has lived there most of his life and has had to deal with these things probably since he was 5 years old. But let's hear him tell the story.
Well, um, where I live at, we moved there when I was about started building when I was 5. Got moved in there when I was 8, and just had about I don't know 500-600 acres of property all around me that nobody lived on. Overgrowth woods, hadn't been logged in probably 200, 300 years, and I had a lot of nut trees, a lot of mass. It was just a young country boy's dream to go squirrel hunting, deer hunting, whatever, turkeys, and but we noticed when me and my mom would go out in the woods. My mom liked to mushroom hunt, and it was always early in the spring. First good rain, still a little cold, freezing back and forth, but warm up like in the 50s and 60s during the day, and mushrooms would pop out right around the hill or from my house. Well, we got to noticing. Some things you just don't notice until you notice it. Does that make sense? You know,
It does.
they was, well, and what I mean by noticing it, you see it, but you don't ask no question. It don't dawn on it. Well, hey, how'd this get here? How'd that happen? How'd that tree get bent over? Why is there 5, 6 trees, 6 inch diameter, leaning up against a big hickory tree? How'd they get there? They ain't no dead. You don't notice it till you notice it. And we started noticing that stuff. We started noticing a bunch of tree bends that was just odd. Uh, Small beech trees. Beech trees is a slow growing tree. Let's say big around your arm. That's probably at least 60 years old. If it's big around your arm, and it would be pulled up by the roots. Still living, but it's like the root. The whole tree was pulled up a foot out of the ground and just left to grow that way. Got pictures, all that stuff. Now them trees are like big around as car tires. It's done been 50
Mm-hmm.
years, 45 years later. So anyway, just noticed all kinds of stuff like that, and all the time, um, dogs would key up, be growling, and well, you just figure bear or something like that. Because where I live at now, in our area, is actually my property was where they first turned loose black bear,
Hmm.
and so they come back often, because they just remembered the area. I guess I don't know. Uh, but then when you start seeing scratches up down trees, okay, well, this is probably bobcat or black panther, stuff like that, because we got them in West Virginia, regardless of what people think. And but then when you start seeing trees like 3 inches in diameter, twisted like Tootsie Rolls or licorice candy, there's just stuff that you ain't got no answer for. You can't make up a reason why. Well, this tree got bent because snow load. Well, yeah, sure that happens, but 6 inch trees don't bend on snow loads.
Hmm.
They break. They don't bend. You
Hmm.
know. So noticed all kinds of stuff like that growing up.
Well, let me ask you a question then. You said that they would pull the trees up by the roots.
Yes, yes. I got several pictures. Beech trees. They're probably now the beech trees probably this one particular I got in my mind. It's about 5, 6 inches diameter now, so that's probably a 80 to 100-year-old tree, 120. Beech trees got like a 300-year lifespan or more. and yeah, there's 6, 8 inches of roots. You can tell it at one time was pulled straight up out of the ground, and it lived. And it wasn't like all the roots just broke off. It just like it pulled it up enough to where it. I don't know. It's just odd.
Yeah,
It
no,
the main roots is 6 inches out of the ground now. As of
yeah,
this summer, it's still like that.
yeah. That's what I was wanting to clarify because it seemed like you was talking about like they pulled it plumb out of the ground and maybe stuck it back in or something like that. But you're saying it pulled it up about 6 inches.
Yeah, just enough where you could see that, hey, something just happened here, but it wasn't like breaking the tree off. It wasn't killing it. It just, wind storms don't do that.
Right. It's unnatural, actually.
Absolutely unnatural. And it's
Okay.
unnatural for 5 or 6 trees, 5 to 6 inches in diameter, to be all leaned up against another big white oak or hickory, like a teepee that's 30 foot tall. That's very
30 feet?
unnatural. Oh yeah, these
Yes.
trees are 25, 30 foot tall.
Now, did
Yeah.
they still have the roots on them, or were they upside down, or
No,
just broke
no,
looking?
wasn't upside down. Quite a few of them looked like they was broke off, but then there was one there that was dead that had a dead root ball on it, and there was no root ball trees nowhere around that.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you about the twist. How did that twist look to you? Can you describe it?
Licorice. I mean, just like you grabbing a towel to wring the water out of it, and it busted it all too. It was like it the that 3 inch tree busted in like three different pieces in a twist, and it was green. It was green, still had green leaves on it and everything. I don't
So,
I don't remember what species tree it was. I got a bunch of fast growing trees on my property, and
mhm.
those I call them cheap trees. They're fast growing trees. They're a softwood, you
Okay.
know.
So
But
the whole tree from basically the let's say the trunk uh, all the way up the tree is twisted like a licorice stick.
yeah,
Wow.
now that 3 inch tree was probably because I had cut that off. I had cut that before. A storm come in years before that, and it was laying down over an old my dad's old tractor, and I had to cut part of that tree in order for the man to haul that old tractor off to have it scrapped.
Hmm.
So it was probably about 10 or 12 foot long. You know, and like I said, the leaves and limbs growing. I mean, grow quite a few years after that. And then one night the dogs was just losing their mind, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go for a walk, see what they barking at." And I just so happened my eyes caught that at tree there, and it was just twisted and busted.
Hmm. So could you hear it being done too?
I no, no. It
Okay.
it was probably about. It wasn't like real close to my house. Probably
Okay.
250 feet,
Okay.
200
So
feet, close to an acre, maybe a little
okay.
over an acre.
All right. All right. All
So,
right.
and then
Uh,
after them dogs barking, you couldn't hear nothing anyway because they didn't go off my porch. Great God, I mean that's you couldn't hear nothing if a horn was blowing, you couldn't hear it over them dogs.
yeah. What were they barking at? Do you know?
I I oh, I that tree being
At that-
twisted like that, that would have to be a squatch. You know, wasn't a
Now did
raccoon.
now did you know anything about Bigfoot squashes or anything at that particular time?
Yeah, at that time, yeah, I didn't start picking up on it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What was the hints that something like that was around?
Well, smell, growling, seeing some footprints. Just like I said, the again, my mom liked to mushroom hunt. There was one
Hmm.
time we was out the at ridge liner at my house, and we always kept a pistol on us. Out in the country, and probably for 2 square miles at that time, I was the only child, if you will, growing up around there. Okay, I was the only young kid. and there was a pipeline that crossed, and where the mushrooms come up good was right before you get that pipeline, and oh my, we the brush had growed up so big it was a real good spot to deer hunt too, but you had to catch them as they was coming into that little brushy spot, because once they got into it, you just couldn't see nothing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they was an acre or acre and a half of shrubs that, my goodness, I mean, it's hard for a rabbit to get in, you know. So uh, we'd walk out to the pipeline mushroom hunting, and then it was getting probably about another 30 minutes before dark, 40 minutes. But that's a real steep hill right there in that area, so the sunlight comes in different. It gets darker on that in that one spot quicker than the sun drops. You know what I mean? Just because of the way the hill and stuff is. And we started hearing kids, two or three kids, jabbering, talking. Um, you couldn't make out nothing, which now we know that being, you know, like the um, Chinese jabbering samurai language that
Mm-hmm.
they say Squat speak. But it's like two or three of them real low over in them bushes. So we just made our way back out of it, you know. Stuff
What
just
did it sound like when they were start doing that chatter? Can you
just
kind of imitate it a little
just
bit or not?
just sounded like young kids talking that you couldn't understand too far away.
Okay. I had an experience, and I'm sure the gentleman beside you will tell you. Um, I was up on a little hillside. When I say hillside, it was pretty much straight up. And when I got to the top, I'm sitting on a boulder, and it's pretty much straight up and down. But to the left of me is where I had to use little saplings to get up that hill. That's how steep it was. But to the front of me and to the right, looking down that hill, was 3 foot grass, whatever you want to call it, that was growing on that hillside. But right there, just a guesstimate of the noise itself. I could say it was probably 15, 20 feet away, or it might have been more or less. But anyways, I heard mumbling sound, just like and it was not. I ain't gonna say it was short, but it was kind of, and it was like it was telling something to something. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
if it was a fox or anything like that, there's no way it could set up on that hill like that. I mean, it's just too far straight up and down. And then it done it a second time, and it basically was saying the same thing, or the noise was making. The only thing I could imagine was that it was this particular spot was chosen because had a witness that seen or had a rock thrown at him when they was fishing, and he had some kind of feeling about this hill. And I sent them down one way, come back up the other side, and I said I'm gonna go straight up the hill because this is where he thought he had some feeling that something was watching us. So I went off his feelings, and that's what happened. I kind of fussed at them when they got around to me, because I thought they was out there playing games, but apparently they wasn't. They said we just now got here, so I still don't know what that noise was as far as proof wise, but my suspicions is it could have been one of them. It could have been a mom telling a young one to don't move, something like that. But it sounded like
Do you got any cave system in your area?
oh, back there, yes, where this noise was at, it was in, I'm gonna say it was in Tuscaloosa, but Alabama, that's where I'm originally from. Alabama is riddled with caves.
So see, something like that could be happening in a slit in a rock, and you not see that all in that grass. They could have been there talking, not even know you was there, and you
I don't
just
know.
happen to hear. You know, you don't know.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. I never saw anything, didn't see no weeds move or anything. But what I'm trying to get into is, sitting here, we're talking about talking. How often have you heard them?
Well, I've heard them a lot over the years. Just weird sounds and this and that and the other. Not a whole lot of whoops like it's advertised, but I have heard them. But they're I've been hearing about 2 weeks ago was the last time I really heard something, and I've heard this same chatter probably 5 or 6 times over the past 10, 12 years. You know, or a little longer. But anyway, sound like howler monkeys,
Hmm.
and there's no monkeys out where I live. I
No,
mean, I
no.
know monkeys has escaped and all this bunch of stuff, but over the years, but there's no howler monkeys.
The howler monkeys are not in, shall I say, the United States, and I've heard that before, even back when I was younger, when I was first. Uh, I'm not going to say it, but anyways, when I first started in this type of business, I've heard that they can sound like a howler monkey, but howler monkeys at the time did not exist in the United States. Um,
Right. Even as
that,
pet.
yeah, even as pets.
And,
Can you tell? Go
and if
ahead.
something like it gets loose, they're only going to hide for so long. You're going to see them. They're going to, a howler monkey is almost friendly, right? I mean, even
Hmm.
wild, they'll come up to people, and they don't hide themselves in the trees. You would see it. You would know.
Hmm.
Well, ain't nobody seen nothing like that.
Now,
And these are not in the trees either. These are always on the ground when I hear them, or what I
hmm.
estimate to be on the ground.
And you can't try to give it any kind of imitation. I'm sorry.
No, I suck at that. No, but I tell you what, I did send Bear a video that I found on YouTube of 4 howler monkeys, and if he forwards that video to you, the one with the big nose was the one that I did not hear the sound. The other 3 sounded exactly like them 3 monkeys.
Okay,
And
I'll get it.
there's always 3 of them, not 1. There's always 3.
Okay, and that was just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, no,
Okay, what?
that's the first time I've heard that in a long time.
Now, when you heard it back in the past, did it sound the same as you did as
Exactly, exactly.
what do you
You know,
think they're saying?
probably making fun of for being dumb. I don't know, but I mean, it's a language. They're not a dumb animal. You know,
Mhm,
they're not a
mhm.
dumb animal by no means. They got a language.
Now, do you think it was these three are the same as that six-toe print that you was describing earlier?
Who knows? Now, I would hate to think that something with a 17 1/4 inch footprint would be a baby. Oh
No.
my, oh my. If that's a baby, oh my.
Yeah, that's right.
Me and my cousin, probably, oh, it's probably been 20 years ago now. Uh, Coyotes started getting heavy out there at the house, and his dad got him a new automatic rifle. So I took my shotgun, and we went over the hill right in front of my house, right where old Bear probably told you a few things that went on. And it got dark, and I was hitting a few calls for, like a rabbit call to get a coyote to come in, and that kid chatter, that baby chatter started, like kids talking again. Well, this is, like I said, it's been 20 years ago at least, and there's still no kids living around. Well, now they are, but all the way up until probably 6 or 7 years ago, there was no kids whatsoever. Now there's two still within 3 miles, you know,
Mhm.
but there's no kids. Or I would hate to think somebody would let their young child be out at 5, 6 years old midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, up and down them hollers. And son, it just started just started chattering and started walking close to us. You know,
did it sound like a toddler? I say toddler, like a 5 or 6 year old, or did it sound like
right?
it was
You,
more
you
teenager? Or
like a kid learn to talking, but you can't understand nothing it's saying. You know,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay,
a little
okay.
bit. It'll have every so often it'll have a high pitched sound to it. You know.
Hmm. Can you tell me some of the stories that you've heard?
Oh well, there's I guess probably like every city and town, we got our local drunks and drug heads, geekers we call them. And I guess there's a few of them had a little change of life here a few years ago. They was coming around the road late one night and seen a deer run out in front of them. Happens all the time, old gravel road, and well, right behind it just happened to be something about 8, 9 foot tall that was chasing that deer, and it caught that deer and stopped in the middle of the road and turned around and looked back at them. And I guess its big red eyes was about, I don't know, foot or two apart. I mean, they said the way they described it, they said, no, we was drunk, but it was real wide. And, well, if you just telling a story, well, a lie is a lie, but when you have a change of life and stop drinking, you've seen something real. And a couple years before that, I kind of thought it was, I seen something similar. I seen the red eye, but I didn't see no body. And it was up in a tree, actually, probably about 80 feet from my house. Now, I still think it was somebody with night vision goggles. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I mean, but if it was, when I pulled a couple rounds off of my pistol, uh, it had to be about 10, 12 foot up in that tree, and it hit awful hard. I would think if it'd been somebody with night vision goggles snooping around and jumped 10 or 12 feet, I figured the breath would have been out of them, and my dogs would have probably ate them up before they got their breath back to take off running. You can
Yeah.
ask old bear. I live quite a bit far off the road, so if somebody's coming in sneaking around, I mean, you're really, I mean, you're just taking a chance. So, but that's kind of what makes me think that was the same creature because it had, I mean, big red eyes, and they was probably 16 inches apart.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
neighbors out the road, they've done seen that thing 3 times. Now I got a goofy looking footprint that I got a picture of that was on down in my field on the right of way road going to my field, and very hard packed ground. I mean, it's packed. It can rain for 2 weeks. I can drive a truck down. You're not going to sink in that road. Okay. It is heavily packed. Now, the field ain't, but the road is. Okay. And a friend of mine come out and done some brush hogging and pushed some small trees down that was in my field and had some dirt that fell off the tree roots in this one spot. And when I walked down through there in that, it just so happens right in that loose dirt, there's about a 17 and a quarter inch print, but it was made real different. It was a six toed, and it wasn't just like our footprint with a extra toe on each side. It was like the very center one was uh, like the center digit was longer, and then it tapered off on both sides. But the heel wasn't wide. The heel was very narrow, like probably 3 inches, 4 inches wide. I mean, compared to a 17 inch foot, a 4 inch wide is pretty narrow at the heel.
I would
So,
think, yeah.
yeah, very odd print.
Have you got that picture?
And that was about the same time as them boys was seeing that out the road, like 2 or 3 miles out the road from 'em.
Do you remember what time of year that was? when you seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the footprint was in the fall.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably 7 years
And you
ago.
and you still have this picture?
Oh yeah, yeah. I still have this picture.
The eyes were glowing red or reflective red. I'm just gonna say you
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
red eyes.
Now I had no flashlight when I was just looking. I had a small porch light at that time, and I was looking in the direction that the dog was barking in. Okay,
Hmm.
and no flashlight. You could see them eyes glowing.
Now was the porch light on where these eyes could
No,
get by the
we're
headlight?
talking we're talking a 40-watt light bulb for a porch light. It don't it
Hmm.
only thing that's good for is to blind you when you walk outside. You can't see nothing. It don't shine nothing. And this was probably 50, at least 50 yards from the house,
Oh wow.
40, 50 yards from the house, and I could still see these red eyes. I just went ahead and pulled my pistol and shot a couple times. I ain't too bad a shot. I don't think I hit it at best. I might have hit the tree it was on, because I
Hmm.
didn't hear no didn't hear no scream, no nothing, but I heard it hit the ground.
Just a
You
thump.
know, yeah, yeah, it thumped. So it was heavy. I thought,
Did it?
well, if I did shoot somebody, I'll go in the morning. And I went in the morning. They wasn't nobody there. Wasn't no blood. Wasn't no nothing. So
Did you happen to hear it walk off or anything, or just the thud?
dog still barking. You couldn't hear nothing over them dogs barking.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
got you.
they was tearing up Jack, pit bull and a Belgian Shepherd. They now they wasn't going to go 10 foot past my porch though. They wasn't going
Hmm.
after it. Them two dogs I had in wasn't going after it. But
Okay.
probably maybe 3 or 4 minutes, they still barked and then they quit barking. I mean, just they stopped barking just as quick as they started. There wasn't no lingering growling or nope. It when it was over, it was over, and they stopped barking. But
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: what about smells? You ever smell anything out there?
sometimes you could smell that musk. Yes, sometimes, not all the time. It was actually, I would say it was more on the rare side of smelling it than not smelling it. It was more so not smelling it. When everything got quiet in the woods, that's when you start paying attention. Because
Hmm.
they when squirrels don't move, nighttime, when there's nothing moving, nothing chattering,
Hmm.
or even through the daytime, when everything just goes quiet, just an eerie feeling sometimes just come all over you. Now, a few years ago, a friend of mine I went to school with come out and was helping me do some work on my house, and so I built a fire and cooked out and hamburgers and baked beans and all that good stuff. And well, she got tired, laid in. I can send you a picture of this. She laid in my big old chair and went to sleep. And well, the two dogs I got now, uh, they're just full of dynamite. They ain't scared of nothing. And when they key up, I pay attention. Okay. And a lot of times they will not bark when I'm outside. So if they're barking when I'm outside, I really pay attention.
Hmm.
And I got my phone out and right over the hill, right in front of us, I seen a nice size one, but by the time I got the camera up, my phone, and took a picture, it had done went down on all fours, and you could just see a little bit of its back. So it was one of them. Hey, it's the Sasquatch, but it it looks like tree limbs, right? You really can't tell. So I
Mhm.
sent it to a friend of mine, and he lives up in Pennsylvania. He got some good computer system where he can analyze stuff, zoom it in good, and clarify things. Well, about a half hour, he sent the picture back to me, and he said, "You was paying attention to that one on the left." He said, "What about the one on the right?" And I said, what do you mean one on the right?" Well, he sent me another close-up screenshot of it, and there was one probably 60, 70 feet to the right, down over the bank. Its head popped up. You can just barely see a little bit of its chest, and you can see its head. It's cone shaped. You can see you can see, you can make its face out just like, I'm looking at you, you know. And
Oh,
well, I went back the next day. But it's we had to do some more work on the house, and it rained good that night. And that next morning, I went out within a foot. I was right in the exact same spot. Now it rained, right?
right.
So if this was just so happened to be a image that, bark looked like a face at a certain
Yeah.
distance, something like, how you see Jesus in the clouds, you know what I mean? Something that
Yeah.
ain't 5 minutes it ain't there, right? Because it was just a certain way you was looking at it, right?
Yeah.
I was
And the
standing the exact
waveformed angles. Yeah. Yeah.
I was the exact same spot. You can see, you can tell from my picture. I took the first picture I made, and I got right in the exact same spot. I wasn't 6 inches or a foot different. Okay,
Yeah.
neither one, neither one of them images is there in that tree. The tree that thing's head was in front of. You can see the tree even better after the storm the next day, and there's no face there.
Mhm.
There's no, so it was one sitting there looking at me. There was two there that day. And
Personally, I'd like to see that.
when that big one dropped down on all fours to go over the steep bank, it made the same amount of noise as a squirrel would going through the leaves. Boy, that kind of made me think. How many times have I sat out there on my property squirrel hunting? Oh, you got warm, sun's coming in, you've been sitting there all morning, you're gonna take a nap. Oh yeah, it's a squirrel behind you, but just heck with it, right? You're gonna take a
Yeah.
nap, you got the rest of the day squirrel hunting. You just wonder how many times something like that wasn't 15 feet behind you, you didn't know it.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
it made just as much noise. A squirrel would have made more noise than that thing did going over the bank. And
It's kind
it's a straight up down bank where that thing dropped down and went over. Straight up and down.
it's kind of hard to fathom something that big, even bigger than a rabbit. Let's put it that way, or a bobcat, bear, or whatever. Something that big being so quiet. And I'm still fun buzzled over that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, there was a situation last time old Bear and his wife was out there at my house. Uh One started squalling, and I just snuck around behind my house, pulled off a couple rounds with a 10 millimeter, and got quiet. Okay. Dogs kind of shut up and everything too. And no more we walked back to the little bonfire had there in front of the house. Son, that thing started screaming and a squalling. I mean, it's standing the hair on the back of your head. I don't know where I hit it at, but wherever I hit it at, by God, it had to have help getting out, because in just a little bit, you could hear one, what was it? Well, probably 4 mile away hollering,
Mhm.
something. And then the other one probably maybe 5 acres on the other side, directly left and right of where we were sitting. And then it hollered again. I mean, it would sit there and growl. I mean, you could feel it hitting you in the chest. It was, you could audibly hear it, but you could feel it, you know? And they hollered a couple times, gave some whoops. That thing whooped again. All this happened within probably less than 15 minutes. Seemed like forever, but it was less than 15 minutes. And then when that thing gave out another holler, woods got quiet as you hear a pin drop. And by all means, it sounded like wherever I shot that thing at, he was hurt. He couldn't walk. He hollered for help. They honed in on where he was at. They come and got him, and they got him out of there. And from within probably another 4 minutes, they traveled up and down, a straight up and down hillside, and probably literally, well, not the way the crow flies, but up and down that hill, they probably went a half a mile or better. And then it let out another blood curdling scream, same as it did behind my house. And you never heard a twig break.
It out. I've been told that you've possibly shot and maybe killed one
Or two.
or two.
Yeah. One was probably a little one. I don't know if it was coming towards the fall one year, and there had been some big bear that was being seen out in my area, and 2 hollers over. And when I say big black bear, I'm talking the thing looked like a grizzly. It had a hump on its back. It was probably a 500-pound plus black bear. It was a big sucker. Some friends of mine, through 2 or 3 different friends of a friend of a friend, that got a game camera picture of it, where it tearing down his corn feeder, sent it. That's how I got the picture of it. I was like, God, dog. And then about 3 weeks before that, my pit bull was just, losing its mind again. And it was one of 3 times in my life that I didn't step out on the porch with my pistol, because I always keep my pistol on. And when I stepped outside, that friggin' bear was trying to come up on the porch. It didn't care that dog barking or nothing. I'm kicking the dog out of my way so I can get back in the door. First time, long time, I panicked. And by the time I got 3 steps in the house, 2 steps back, open the door, bear gone. Okay, so. I was like, daggone it, I'm keeping this pistol on me. I don't. So 2 or 3 weeks after that, I walked behind my house, just to sit, clear my mind. And I don't know, probably 60 feet or less. I seen something that there's a whole bunch of underbrush, if you will, just small trees. A whole bunch of small trees, like the size of your finger. They're a little bit bigger than that now, because this was like 2017. A bunch of trees, size of my little finger, where I hadn't been keeping brush cut back and stuff for several years. They just growed up right there on the edge of the grass behind my house. Well, it just perfect little cover. Turkey just running in and out of there. They just loved it. Turkey was nesting back in there. It just, and this is like 60, 70 feet from my house, just right real close. A whole bunch of turkey was nesting. But I got an old trailer, old 60 some model. It's probably 30-foot long trailer sitting there where I just keep junk in. God dog it, I seen something big come up behind that thing. Couldn't tell what, I just seen something big. So it's a bear, right? I just quickly grabbed, pull my 10 millimeter. I put 2 in it, and big mama, big baby daddy, mama, whatever, come off behind that trailer, picked it up and took off. And I was like, holy shit, what did I just shoot? I thought it was a bear. I didn't think it was that. Well, my adrenaline cranked up real fast. So I went back to the house and grabbed 2 more clips for that 10 millimeter, grabbed me a couple bottles of water. And it took off like a rocket with that thing. And so I started walking where the direction I knowed it would have went. And small trees stomped down. You could see a clear path where that thing walked. And it went through this, I don't know. It's a well site, but it has got the most invasive grass and weeds that the gas company plants in it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it literally it's like 5 foot tall when it's full grown, and it'd be hard to push a 4 wheeler through it. Well, that thing went through it like a tank. I mean, it mowed it down. Well, I could see that. I could see all that from probably close to 80 yards from it. So I didn't walk over that bank. And here it is, uh, quarter of a mile on the other side of the hillside, big ridge mountain. It's a real steep hill. And I sit there for about 2 hours because this happened like around noon, you know. I sit there for about 2 hours, and every 11 minutes, I got my phone out and hit the timer. Every 11 minutes, that thing let out like a moan, um, cry. Standing hair on your head. And it'd do it for a couple seconds and it stopped. Every 11 minutes, it done it. And it done it. I said, well, I walked back to the house, sit on my front porch, it still done it. I went in the house, took a nap, couple hour nap, come back out right before dark. It's still doing it. So I would imagine it done it all at night. Dogs would growl a little bit, wouldn't bark, but they'd growl. And when I went outside at about midnight, 1 o'clock, something like that, and it was still doing it. But the very next day, a buddy of mine had to come pick me up. I had a doctor's appointment. When we went out the end of my driveway, here there is 4 trees, uh, 4 5 inch in diameter, stuck in beside of one another across from my driveway in an X shape. And there was
Ooh.
no dead trees there to fall and just accidentally make that make that happen the very next day. The very next day.
Now, do you think that was from them telling you a message, or
Well, it
what do you think?
two of them trees that were stuck beside each other was 30 foot long. Yeah, I don't think Boy Scouts was out doing anything marking territory. Yeah, I mean it took something pretty strong to do that. And then the other two was probably 3 or 4 inch. They wasn't quite as long. They was probably around 20 foot.
But this was the day after you shot something.
Yeah, the very next day. Yeah, 10 o'clock in
Hmm.
the morning. I don't know when it was done, but we left out there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was there.
Hmm. They were
Now
saying something.
it
They was
yeah,
marking it
and
for
it
some reason.
now this is interesting. It stayed there about 2 or 3 years, and then just all of a sudden one day it's gone. I don't mean just like fell down because they was jabbed in the ground. They wasn't
Yeah.
trees that was there and pushed over. They was jabbed in the ground, and a couple years later, all of a sudden, boom, they just gone. Not like I said, not just rotted, fell down. No, gone.
Completely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I thought, hey, somebody might come over and cut them up for firewood. I went over and looked. Nope, nope. And went no nothing cut, no nothing. The holes was in the ground. They was pulled up and gone. No,
But tossed nowhere. You didn't see them laying around anywhere.
nothing. I looked. Yeah, I looked.
Hmm.
No tire tracks where somebody pulled them out and cut them up. Nothing. The grass, the whole vegetation of the woods right there was not damaged, hurt at all. They were just picked up and moved.
Hmm. Okay. I wonder what that was about.
I don't know. Maybe they forgive me. I don't know, but
Or they telling you don't do it again.
well, I will.
Yeah.
Um, and have since then because it was 4 or 5 years later. It was when I shot that other one. I was just guessing at its voice, where it was hollering behind my house. I was just guessing, you know. So evidently, I guessed pretty good because I hit that thing somewhere where that big thing didn't feel like moving. Because it actually, I mean, you can ask old Bear and his wife. I mean, it let out a holler. I mean, it was hollering and screaming and going on, but it let out a call. And then just in a little bit, one answered way off to the left on the other side of that ridge, a good half a mile. And then the other one was actually across the road, probably, eighth a mile. And then in a little bit, few minutes, when it hollered again, they hollered behind the house, and it's like they just zeroed in on it, and the woods got quiet as a pin drop. So they got the ability to move. They got the ability to move through brush without making no noise. Because we didn't hear nothing moving, nothing walking. I mean, nothing. I mean, my dogs even shut up, so they wasn't seeing nothing. They wasn't hearing nothing. They wasn't seeing nothing.
What kind of holler was this making?
I can't duplicate it. It was in pain. While it was sitting there, it was in pain. I mean, I kind of saying this jokingly, but I either hit that thing in the face or I hit it in the gonads because it wasn't moving, was it? It wasn't thrashing around. It wasn't doing that, but it wasn't moving, and it evidently needed help out because, like I said, it was a good half mile down that hill and up the other side of that mountain and out that ridge line before it let out the same scream. Mm-hmm. So
maybe they dropped it.
I don't know.
Dropped its leg.
But I mean, you just wonder. I mean, and my 10 millimeter was reload. It wasn't factory. So I hit it hard. Wherever I hit it at, I hit it hard. I went down there next day, didn't see no blood.
What about the one before that? Did you find blood on that one?
A little bit, but it had rained that night before, and it was just all. Why
don't you tell them about that day I was out there turkey hunting at your place? Remember we were sitting there talking, and we looked at each other because of what we heard.
Yeah, it was a bear was out turkey hunting there one time, and this has happened to 2 other people besides him. Mm-hmm. I see. Get things in line here. I think it was a kid pattern too, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think it was kids. I think it was the teenagers.
Well, yeah. I mean, it that was pretty interesting. Again, the woods just got quiet, and then another friend of mine was out right where I got a little pickup truck, and I'll just let him hunt. He's disabled. I just sit there by the truck hunt. You can't get up down them hills. Just something will walk up there and shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, a couple hours later, come back and he got his hands throwed up in there. He's about pooping his pants. Matter of fact, he almost does. He goes on the other side of the truck and uses the bathroom. He said, "I feel safe now that you're here." Whatever, and Miss Bear can vouch for this. He said the exact same thing. For some reason, those things do not want to come past my house in the holler. They run the neighbors' cows out, their big bull up the 100 some acres over there, but they won't go past directly in the holler that's in front of my house. They just won't. They just won't. And so my buddy was sitting there deer hunting, and he said, "I don't know what you got over in that damn holler." He said, "But that thing started hollering," and he said, "Paul, I could feel it in my hip bones. That infrasound just hit your chest. It made him have loose bowels. I mean, it physically bothered him."
By the way,
but again, it will not go past right in front of my house.
Is this after you shot one or two of them?
Yes.
They won't come in front? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they know. Okay.
Yeah, but I've been yeah, but
Amazing.
that's just it. I've been putting lead. I've been putting lead in them evidently for like 38 years or more, because you can ask bear trees all in front of my house, left, right, and in front, ate up buckshot ain't.
Yeah.
I mean, dogs barking, carrying. I've always had big dogs. I've had some mutts, and 57 hinds. But there's a difference between a dog barking and an animal, and then when its hair stood up from the tip of its tail, and then it wants to back up in the house with you. There's something different there.
Yeah.
So I just lay the lead. Number 6 shot, 12 gauge, 3.5 inch. Give it to them. Give it to them. I mean, and so.
Have you actually seen one up close? And when I say up close, 20 yards, 30 yards,
I
anything
know
like that?
about 100 yards, and I seen its back when it stepped out. And I'm pretty good shot. That time I had a 44 Super Red Hawk Magnum
Uh-huh.
Ruger, 180 grain. I hit it, and it shrugged its shoulder like a bee sting at about
Really?
120 yards. Never seen its face, but it just stepped out. I'm like, what in the. And I don't, oh God, I just pulled and shot.
Yeah.
So if somebody's dumb, always bullcrap. Well, you don't know somebody could be in a gorilla costume. Well, that's just stupid, ain't
Yeah, especially where in your location.
it?
I've
Yeah.
heard that. I've heard that I don't know how many times. I've got kinfolk up here that I've talked to about it, and I've seen one, but I'll tell you about it. And to me, it was no ifs, ands, or buts. But he'll go, well, somebody was just messing with you. I'm like, you don't know the situation or the circumstance. There's no way nobody was in there messing with me, because what good would it have done? I didn't
I
say
I got
I never
I
said
had
anything
a
about Bigfoot.
I had a dog run that I made out of a um 5/8 cable with a pulley on it, so I could hook my dog to and do some training with it and stuff like that until it got used to my commands and different things. And
Mhm.
at its lowest spot, it was about 7 foot. Because I had it on a tree way above my house, and then I had the other end hooked to big old hickory way down below my house. So the swag in it at the lowest spot was about 7 foot. Okay.
Mhm.
So I had a lead hanging off it so I could just grab it and hook a dog to it, right?
Yeah.
Because it couldn't reach it, 7 foot, and I'm a white boy, I can't jump. So uh, I could just hook the dog to it. All right. Now, it's sitting there one night, and my mom said, "Did you hit it?" I said, "I hit something." I truly, I thought it was somebody. Okay, I did. I was tired of prowler. Again, I'm way off the road. You come snooping around, you're up to no good. So you might as well put some lead in.
Yeah. Yep.
And when I shot at the dark spot that I could see, because it's about a quarter of a moon, and we um, didn't have no oh clouds and things. It was so, but you only had about a quarter of a moon.
Mhm.
So when I pulled the trigger on that thing, I was probably 40 yards from it, 30, 40 yards, and it took off, and it clotheslined itself on about 8 foot tall worth of cable. And it shook the trees to the left of me. I swung around, started shooting trees. I thought, gee Lord, I thought 5 or 6 people done. It shook. I had the other end tied to 2 trees that had grown like set of twins right beside each other. They was
Yeah.
probably 3.5, 4 inches, and I had the other end tied to both of them, and they was probably 25, 30 foot tall. They was hickories, you know, and it
Yeah.
shook him like me or you would a little brush. It scared the crap out of me. I instantly turned around, and the dog did too, barking. Uh,
Yeah.
but when I went back down there the next morning, There was a great big old flat spot where that thing had just exactly, you could just imagine it clotheslined itself and it come off its feet and fell straight
Yeah.
on its back. There was
Yeah.
probably 6 foot sinkhole, patted down in the trees and the leaves and stuff right there. So
I'm laughing because I've done that. So let me ask you this. Do I?
oh yeah. A little while after that, I noticed. No, well, yeah, it was a couple days after. When I say little while, it was a couple days after that. That cable I had, and I still got a big roll of it at the house. It's a marine grade strapping. Okay, so marine grade means it's nylon. It ain't gonna rot.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
had that wrapped around that big beech or that big hickory tree, so that way it wouldn't grow into the tree if I left it up there for a couple years. I could get up there with a ladder and move it, and it wouldn't grow into the tree. You know what I mean? Use it as like a strap around the tree. Then I hook the cable to the tree, or then I hook the cable to the strapping. Okay. Went out there. I was going to do something other than I don't know what I was going to do. Going for a walk. I was going to do something. I noticed that cable's down. I went down to the other end. That strapping was ripped just like you took a pair of scissors and cut it.
Huh.
Yeah. Just
Like it was.
you know how you cut take duct tape and pinch it and rip it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it'll have like a little fray on the bottom. That's exactly what it did.
Huh. So it wasn't a clean cut like you would with a knife or a pair of scissors, then, was it?
It was ripped. It was kinked up just like you would hold it in your fingers and rip it with your fingers.
Yeah.
So evidently it got pissed off that cable when it clotheslined itself and come back and well, I
Okay.
mean, I don't know what to say because, like I said, the other end was about 12 foot up in the air. I had my cousin come out, got on a ladder, and he put it up there for me. It was about 12 foot up in the air. You just ain't a person just wasn't gonna walk down there and cut it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah. Yeah.
it's about 12 foot in the air.